Here's the AT follow-up survey I created in Google Forms. You can see that I have the demographic information at the beginning for my student and the person completing the form. The next section asks what IEP goal the student will be using their AT for, the progress made toward that goal, and a key question. Is the student still using their AT to access their education/meet their educational goals? Based on the answer to this question, my form will branch. If they say yes, meaning the student is using their AT, they are automatically led to my AT student outcomes measure. If they say no, meaning they are not using their AT, they automatically skip the outcomes measure and move to the AT barriers so I can find out more about what is happening. After responses are collected, I can go to my responses page. I want to allow Google to make the corresponding sheet for me so that it will automatically label each heading with my question. I can look at that in Forms and create a quick conditional formatting to highlight any no answers to my key questions in red. This just helps me notice those quickly using format, conditional formatting, and indicating where and when to turn the cell red. If I want to see only the answers in this column that say no, I can click on the column, select Data, and create Filter. I can then choose only the answers I want to see. This will hide the other rows, but does not delete them. However, if I want to see only the answers that were no, and I want to see which students have made no progress, I cannot apply two filters at the same time. I must remove my no filter to using AT and apply a new filter to the progress column. However, there is a way to sort my information by multiple selectors. Say I want to see only kids from a certain case manager that she said were not using their AT. I can do that with a pivot table. To make a pivot table, I click on the entire pivot table and select Insert Pivot Table. I'm going to have it make my pivot table on the next sheet. That will keep my data separated. Now I have a new tab with my pivot table. So how do I run this thing? First, I'm going to add rows for the information I'm interested in. I'm going to start with which case manager is completing this form. Then the student name. I want to know if they are still using their AT, and I want to know their IEP progress. Now it has chunked all of that information together for me. Since I started with the person completing the form, that becomes the first part of my table. While I put them in rows, you'll see that the information is listed in the first column with a new row for each person. Their data then spreads from there to show their students, the use of AT, and their progress. At the bottom, I can add filters so that I only see students with David Letterman as the case manager. I can also add filters to see the ones that are listed as not using AT and sort further based on their progress level. If David Letterman and Barney Rubble are case managers at the same school, I can quickly pull up their data during my visit. This allows me to quickly drill down to the information I am looking for. In the meantime, it leaves my standard information that came from my Google form alone on the previous tab. In this video, we used Google Forms to follow up on our AT. We branched our form based on a key answer. We used Google Forms to create our Google Sheet, and we looked at different ways to view our data using conditional formatting, filters, and pivot tables. In our next video, we will create an automatic email notification when we get that key question answered with a no on our form.
Funding for this service is provided by the Bureau of Exceptional Student Education, Florida Department of Education. The inclusion of technologies in this library and/or described in this content should not be considered as an endorsement of any particular item or device. The instructional appropriateness of any of these technologies must be determined at the local level.